Everyone to the upstanding for the opening prayer. Almighty God, we ask that you be present at this meeting to assist us in our service to the community through local government. We pray that our decisions will be wise and taken with goodwill and clear conscience. Amen. Item 2, Councillor and Officer presence at the meeting. We have all councillors present.
And our Director of Corporate and Org Development is not present today.
And our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development is an apology. Item 4, disclosure of conflict of interest. Anyone have any conflicts of interest? No. Item 5, confirmation of minutes from the ordinary council meeting held on the 23rd of November 2022. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Wortman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. All in favour? Carried. Petitions and joint letters nil. Public question time nil. Informal meetings of councillors. Find it Appendix 1. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Scales.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Happy to move that the information be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Scales. A seconder. Councillor Dickshea. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. 9.1 Annual Financial Statement and Performance Statement. I'm going to pass to our CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In the absence of our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development, I will present this report. We had planned to present the draft annual financial statements and performance statement for the year end 30 June 2022 for review and in principle approval by Council. It has now come to my attention that there are a couple of notes that we need to make amendments to. So I'd like to respectfully request that the Council defer consideration of this matter until the January 2023 Council meeting.
We need someone to move.
We postpone the consideration of the financial statement and performance statement until the January Council meeting.
Can we have someone move a motion that we postpone the financial statement until our January Council meeting? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that we defer consideration of the financial statements to the January meeting.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. A seconder. Councillor Anderson. Or anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. (9.2) Occupational Health and Safety. Calling our CEO again.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report was prepared by our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development and our Occupational Health and Safety Officer. Neither officers nor myself have any conflict of interest in relation to the matter to which the report relates. I'd just like to highlight for you just a couple of key items that we've moved on over the last little while. So we've had the rollout of the Japanese encephalitis virus vaccinations as part of the state government's targeted programs. Also undertaken a risk assessment and some work at the Corrion sale yards just to ensure that they were safe for the sale that we've recently conducted. And we've also had a rollout of the CFA bushfire safety for workers training for all our outdoor workers. So lots of progress over the last little while, and I'm pleased to your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions or clarification on that report? No? Would someone like to move a motion on? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Wortman. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. 9.3, Mayor, Deputy Mayor and Councillor allowances. Again, our CEO.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Councillors, the purpose of this report is in order for consideration to be given and a decision made in relation to the level of allowances paid to the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and Councillors. Under the Local Government Act 2020, the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and Councillors are to be paid allowances in accordance with the determination of the Victorian Independent Remuneration Tribunal. In March 2022, the Tribunal made its first determination, which indicated an increase in allowance levels to be phased in over the next several years. An increase is due on the 18th of December 2022 to take effect until 17 December 2023. And a Mayor, Deputy Mayor or Councillor may elect to receive all the allowance to which they are entitled, a specified part, or to receive no allowance. The recommendation is before you. I won't go through all of that. And the report sets out some further details in relation to the changes that are proposed over the next 3 or 4 years. So I'll leave that for your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions or clarification on that report? Someone like to move the motion? Councillor Dickshay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Dickshay. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. (9.4). We'll take as read. Any questions or clarification? All happy on that one? Oops. Someone like to move the motion? Councillor Scales.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Happy to move that the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Scales. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. 9.5, action sheet reports. We'll call on our CEO.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Councillors, just for your information, we've provided you with an updated action sheet. The sheet that was included in your agenda had a slight, required a slight change, and so you'll see now that that's being sent through to you.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Do we have any questions or clarification? No? Someone like to move a motion on that one? Anyone? Councillor Dickshay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Dickshay. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wortman. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. Ten 10.1, bushfire recovery, updated and presented quarterly and will be provided in the February 2023. 11.1 is a community service report and it's presented quarterly and will be provided in February 2023. 12 is asset management and 12.1 grader replacement. And we'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report is to provide information on the assessment of tenders for the replacement of the Caterpillar 12M grader based at the Toolangatta depot and to seek approval to appoint the recommended supplier to replace that grader. Report demonstrates the tender process that's been followed for the procurement of a suitable replacement grader, and the recommendation is as presented.
Thank you. Any questions or clarification on that report? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a comment. Very pleasing to see that the trade value of the existing grader is so high, and I think that we should compliment our maintenance, our mechanic and the maintenance that's carried out on that grader, and the operators. They look after the machines. Yeah.
Very true. Everything's getting dearer, isn't it? If there's no further questions or clarification, would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Dickshay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented be adopted.
Thanks, Councillor Dickshay. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Wortman. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. Don't go too far. 12.2, Little Snowy Creek Bridge and Smythes Road Bridge reconstruction. And again, we'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report provides information on the assessment of tenders for the reconstruction of two bridges over Little Snowy Creek at Estdale, and to seek approval to appoint the recommended contractor. And I've just noted there's an error in the report. One of the bridges is on Smythes Road, so it's Little Snowy Creek and Smythes Road. The report demonstrates the tender process followed for the procurement of a suitable contractor to undertake the works, which are all funded through DELP's bushfire recovery funding. And the recommendations are as presented.
Thank you. Any questions or clarification on that? Councillor Dickshay?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I note that originally the funding was to cover 4 bridges. Could I just ask, is there a plan for the 2 that aren't now covered by the funding?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll take that one on notice. But just to say that, to assure the community that the bridges are not in a condition where they need to be replaced. These bridges were nominated by DELP to allow larger vehicle access,
Yep.
and that's what the funding was provided for. So there's no concern around the condition of the bridges that won't get replaced.
So we await their budget, their next budget.
Yes.
Any further questions or clarification? Someone like to move the motion, please? Councillor Scales.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Happy to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Scales. We have a seconder. Councillor Wortman. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. 12.3's Asset Management Report, and we'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment again.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report provides an overview of asset management activities throughout the Shire from October the 1st to the 30th of November 22. It also provides an attachment that gives you an update on the Capital Works program. And the recommendation is that the report be noted.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or clarification on the Asset Management Report? Councillor Scales?
I'll just sneak in a quick compliment, Mr Mayor, not necessarily a question. It's really nice to see so many of them dots moving across into the procure, build and finish areas. As we know, we took on a huge capital works program this year. We've had a lot of issues with rain, obviously, holding things up, just trying to get contractors in to do things, so it's great to see things really ticking along now and getting to some of them final stages.
Exactly. Any further questions or clarification? Did you hear that there? Yep.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just on the major patching and road reconstruction program, from previous discussions, I'm glad that we're going to just review the budget on that program, and hopefully we'll get a report in the new year. One other question, Mr Mayor, if I could just ask the Director if she could give an update on Towong Street East, please.
Through you, Mr Mayor, we have had some delays with the contractor. So the contractor that then that's due to weather and a number of things that have been going on. The particular contractor that was engaged to do the civil works has now finished the work that they're doing. There are other contractors that will be engaged after Christmas to do sealing. There's some pavement works that need to be repaired due to storm damage before we can seal. And then once the weather cools down a bit after Christmas, then we'll start doing the landscaping. And that'll be the final part of the project.
Thank you.
I must say with that one that I noted some before and after photos. I can't even remember what it looked like now. It's looking very good. So
It was a big open drain.
yeah, that's right. Any further questions or clarification? I'm happy. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Thank you, Councillor Wortman. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. 13. Land use planning. 13.1 land use planning report for November will be presented to the January council meeting. 14. Environmental sustainability. 14.1's a forestry report. I'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report provides an overview on forestry and related activities. It's presented to Council a couple of times a year, and you'll note that there's been reduced activity to do with plantations just due to the impact of wet weather that we've had over the last 12 months. And the recommendation is that report be noted.
Questions or clarification on that report? Councillor Dickshay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I note from the report that where timber harvesting operations occur on private land, council is responsible for ensuring compliance. I'm just wondering, do we receive any funding to assist with that administration, or any other financial benefit from that work?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to take that question on notice, and I'll provide some financial information back to you once I have it.
Thank you.
Any further questions or clarification? No? Would someone like to move a motion? Ooh, that's very close to putting your hand up, Councillor Wortman. Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Dickshay. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. 15's Economic and Tourism Development, and 15.1 High Country Rail Trail Master Plan. Call on our Director of Community and Planning.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report is to present the draft High Country Rail Trail Master Plan and proposes or makes a recommendation for it to go on public display for approximately 6 weeks to allow people sufficient time over Christmas to respond. Just for the benefit of those who are in the room particularly, the High Country Rail Trail Master Plan has been a major priority within our economic development strategy, as well as our destination management plan, and also on a number of recovery plans. So it's well supported by the community, and that was really representative of the number of people who were included in the development of the report. Also within the report, we outline the ongoing, potential investment, and the fact that we will need both federal and state potentially funding to actually complete the proposed master plan. And also there will be some ongoing maintenance costs associated with completing that, which have been estimated at between 218,000 annually and 381,000, and that the intention is for us to seek a range of support through the community to actually offset those potential future maintenance costs. The other report also refers to the need for council potentially to become the committee of management for major sections of the trail, just to ensure that ongoing maintenance is actually delivered on those sections as well. The recommendation is as presented.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification on that report? Councillor Warburton.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that we suspend standing orders. There's a question I'd like to talk about the recommendation.
So, Anita,
With the gallery or?
Yeah.
so I need a seconder. Councillor Dickshay. All in favour? Carried.
Yeah. We're going to clear that.
Well, that's what I just asked with the gallery. Or
No
Sorry.
problem. No
Oh,
problem.
so you'd like to close the meeting to
Yeah.
the public?
Oh,
Yet to consider a matter of confidential business or?
Thank you.
so you probably need to
Yep.
change the wording on what
Yeah.
you're going to move there.
Could we close the meeting for a very brief? Just one more change. I just want to talk about one wording in the recommendation.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Anderson. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. If I could ask the gallery to just step out for one moment.
Yeah, sorry about this.
We're up to 15.1, High Country Rail Trail Master Plan, and we have a recommendation in front of you. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Wortman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation of 1, 2 and 3, and I'd like to modify point 4, that a report to Council regarding the upgrade and the asset maintenance plan be prepared for sections of the High Country Rail Trail where the Council is the Committee of Management to better understand the financial commitment that will be required into the future.
Thank you. Councillor Wortman, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Anderson, thank you. Councillor Wortman, would you like to speak to that before we put that?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yes, look, this draft report has been released to the community, and I just want it to be clear that a report is needed on the costs for the upgrade and the maintenance of the High Country Rail Trail, and just so that we can plan for the future, in our future budgets. Yeah. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Did the seconder want to speak at all? No. Pardon? Anyone?
I'd like to speak though.
You might be
Are you
opposed.
opposed, or would you just like to
No,
speak
I'd
to
just
the...
like to speak in favour.
Well,
Go for it.
go.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Initially I was opposed to the recommendation, however with this change that Councillor Wortman's put forward, I will be supporting it.
Councillor Scales. We've got a mover and a seconder. Or anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. .2 Strategic Plan for Agriculture. And again, we'll call on our Director of Community and Planning.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report is a report to recommend the presentation or the placement of the Ag Strategy back on public display. Just for the sake of history, as you remember, we released the draft agricultural strategic plan a number of months ago and received some comments back from producers. What we really wanted to do was take the time to make sure we reflected those comments and updated the plan, because we see it as a really important strategic document. There were 3 key areas where we received quite significant feedback, and those have been adjusted in the final plan. Those 3 areas really related to expanding the way that natural resources were framed within the strategy to include things beyond water. So particularly the value of soil and the importance of actually having high quality soil maintenance. The second one was around strengthening the link between agriculture and producers and emergency management, particularly in relation to biosecurity, but also to really recognise that within an emergency, having a quick link to producers and understanding important things like transport links and other stuff that need to be addressed in a priority was something that producers really wanted to see in there. And I'm pleased to also confirm that they've indicated a really strong preference to be heavily involved in future emergency management planning, which I think is a great outcome post bushfires and floods. The third was really around improving the transport corridors, particularly around the Shire. So thinking about not only improving what we have, but improving it for the future and what we know is coming in terms of heavy vehicle use and also potentially electrical vehicles into the future. The recommendation is as presented.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification on that report? No? Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Scales. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. 16, councillor reports. We don't have any reports. Urgent business. No urgent business. Committee minutes. No committee minutes for consideration. 19, occupational health and safety. 19.10 HNS committee. And we'll take those as read. The unconfirmed minutes of the Occupational Health and Safety Committee meeting held on the 30th of November 2022. Any questions or clarification on that report? Someone like to move a recommendation? No, move a motion. Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the unconfirmed Occupational Health and Safety Committee minutes be noted.
Thank you, Councillor Wortman. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Dickshay. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. 20, council policies. 20.1, policies for review and adoption. We don't have any this month. Sealing of documents. No documents for sealing this month. And item 22 is confidential, and so we do have one item at 22.1. Would someone like to move that we go into confidential? Councillor
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented, being that we go into confidential under section number 3-1 of the Local Government Act 2020.
Thank you, Councillor Scales. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Dickshay. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. So just So, thank you. And so, in regards to item 22.1, was there any further motions? Councillor Scales.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented and that at an additional point that a meeting be convened with the CNC coordinator and board chair.
Thank you, Councillor Scales. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Anderson. Anyone opposed? All in favour? Carried. Thank you very much. And that'll conclude our meeting. Thank you.